Hi there, welcome back. In this session, we're going to pick up from the functions class where we left things. And if you recall, in the previous session, we talked about functions, what they were. We even went ahead to create some functions. So now we know better, you know, what a function is, what is expected when you're defining a function, when you're calling a function, things to have at the point of defining a function. You could have arguments in your functions. If you want to have arguments in your function, what kinds of arguments you want to have in your functions. Now, if you recall, one of the whole goal of having a function or writing a function is such that you don't have to repeat a particular set of instruction or tasks. So if you just have it set up like a set of instructions or a block of code, you could call them up at a future time, or a different point in your code base to execute for you. And that's one of the key things, one of the key values or importance or benefits of writing functions, or should I say having functions. What I want to build upon, in this session is same way we write functions so we don't have to perform these tasks. We don't have to rewrite those sets of codes over and over. In the programming language, Python, there are some built-in functions. So there are some things that we are doing now or we may have done that we do not even need to do again because Python by default already has such functions written and we've been using some of them. One of the most popular built-in functions that we use and we have been using is the print. Now, if you think about it, the way we set a function is, you write the name of the function, the parentheses, and so depending on how the function was defined, you could have arguments passed into it. So you look at the print function for every time we've had to just execute, we just said print, we just said print, and then in our parentheses, and this is the function call. I'm just going to call, say this is the function call, and we execute, you so we execute, and just going to comment this bit out here and execute this, and so we'll see what we just wrote here. This is the function call. Has it occurred to you, like, irrespective of what we want to write in here, when we call the print function and we pass arguments to it, it always executes. Now, there are several built-in functions in Python, and a place where we can find them is the official Python docs site, right? So that's docs.python, so you can see this URL is just going to be in the video description. Okay, so you can just go in there, go through. There are quite a number of them, so you don't have to cram or memorize them as much as you want to get familiar with. You could just come over here. So using this print function, so you see all of this, and if you recall, in about our first class or second class, we used the type function. Okay, so you're seeing quite a number of things in here. We could just also come in here to click on print to see what the print function is about. So we're saying print. Now look at how the print is defined. So print, and then you're saying this asterisk. You recall the previous class at the tail end, the things I commented out here, this and this. I said you should look up what these things are. All right, a single asterisk for args and double asterisk for quags. Okay, so meaning arguments, positional arguments in a function call, and then these double asterisk quags are for keyword arguments in a function call. So if you look at the definition of the print function, we're saying print, the name of the function, and then single asterisk object. So that means positional arguments. And the thing about positional arguments, we could have as many as we want for the args. And then we now have this. So what are these? These are default arguments. So they just have values. They are, of course, they are like keyword arguments, but they have default values passed to them. So when we call the print function, which we usually do, without passing any of this. Already the default values have been assigned at this point of definition. That's why we do not get flagged for any error. Okay, just going to just bring us back to this environment here. So we can just think of something I thought about to share with. If driving a car, so if you're familiar with the manual car, or you could say driving with a stick and the automatic. So the manual driving stick, you have the gear, it's labeled, 1 to 5, and then there's R for reverse. And if you're driving an automatic, with the gear, where the mode of gear change is automatic, funnily called Prindle. Okay, for the manual, or those who are familiar with driving with a stick, whenever you're moving the car forward and you want to engage, you always start with gear one. So as you progress in terms of the car is gaining momentum, you step up the gear, so you move from 1 to 2. As the momentum increases, you move it to a higher gear level, 3, as the case may be. Whereas if you're driving an automatic, automatic, all you need to do is engage, push it to D. And once it's on D, your leg is just on the gas pedal, or accelerator. The more you apply pressure, the car internally automatically adjusts. It just adjusts itself, So you're not aware of this change in the gear, it's just adjusting itself. What I want to bring to your attention is those things are like function calls. So for the manual, you're always passing an argument. So for the manual, for you to engage the gear, you press down on the clutch and then you move, you pass a value 1. You accelerate a bit further, you have to call that function again of drive. You pass a value 2. But for the automatic, the car already has this function built in, so you don't have to even call or write it. It's already there, D. So once you just engage the built-in function, so if you think about it, putting it into, just try to just bring it into this function called, programming, the concept of programming here is that once you've engaged the D, you know for it to drive, because it's an inbuilt function, the argument, they've already been programmed. Okay, so you don't have to be moving those gears anymore. I hope this is making sense to you. Okay, if it doesn't make sense to you at first, like I say, give it a second, come back, play it again. Perhaps we give it some time to simmer. Interestingly about driving, I wasn't able to drive at my first try. I had I had 4 tutors. Okay, 2 paid tutors, and the other 2 were actually my brothers. So it's not this doesn't discredit anyone, to say this person wasn't a good teacher. They were all excellent teachers, especially my brothers. They were excellent teachers. However, at the time, the things they were sharing, I wasn't, I couldn't just apply them properly, But with time, going back to it, now I can say like, oh, I can drive a car both with the stick, the manual, and also with automatic. I guess maybe I should try the same thing for keyboard, because I've had 2 tutors, to learn the keyboard and still falling short. Okay, so back to Python. I just want you to think of this, the goal is for you to understand that there are built-in functions and we use some of them. You've seen us use the print, we used the type function, you know, earlier in our conversation. If you recall, we used the type function, and if we just look in here, you can see type. So if I click on type, I can see type. So when I at the point of definition, so you have to pass these are positional arguments, So what is it that you need to pass in here? Or you could just pass an object. So there are 2 options, you have this to pass an object or this to pass a name basis. Now speaking of object, we're going to jump into that much later on. But these concepts of functions are very important that we just wrap this up at this point of functions. So functions that you could write and then built-in functions of the Python programming language. In our next course, we're now going to delve into the data analysis bit. Okay, so how we can use Python for data analysis. It's a versatile tool, and you've seen certain key components of this. Um, what we haven't delved into before the data analysis bit, which I would also implore you to try to read up on so as we speak to it, it's easy for you to just assimilate, would be on classes. Okay, you recall at the intro bit of this course, I said Python was an object-oriented programming language. Okay, so what is oriented? Thinking of it like orientation. What does it mean to have an orientation? Think about it. So just read up on classes, and we're going to pick it up in our next discourse to talk about classes, or more specifically, we're getting into using what we have learned so far and then coming into data analysis, which is essentially what you signed up for in this course. I'm really proud that you stuck up until this point, and I'm confident that you're going to really get the best for what you signed up for. See you in the next session. Bye for now. Cheers.